What's up, everybody? Bootman here, and from June 6th to June 23rd, Marvel Rivals is kicking off a brand new mode called Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol, and I'm part of the official Marvel Rivals creative program, so I was fortunate enough to get early access to this mode, and I am absolutely obsessed. I played for about 5 or 6 hours yesterday with a bunch of my fellow creators. I also played against bots, and yeah, this mode's kicking off. It's an auto battler mode, and I wanted to give you some tips to get started. There's gonna be some exclusive rewards, there's going to be a leaderboard, and if all goes well, hopefully they make this a permanent mode because it is super, super fun, and it's a nice little break from regular modes, all right? So with these 6 tips, you'll get a little head start on the competition. So let's jump into this, all right? So tip number 1, do not be afraid to experiment with lineups, okay? So much like a regular Marvel Rivals match, you can have whatever you want for your lineup, all right? You have access to Vanguards, Duelists, and Strategists. So, like, what I mean is, I was on a roll with a 1-1-4 setup. I had 1 Vanguard, 1 Duelist, and I had 4 Strategists, and I won the entire thing. By the way, like, I might make another video, like, really deep diving into the game, but it's set up like a mini, like, tournament, okay? You're in there with 5 other people, so there's 6 in total, and yeah, you kind of just, like, keep battling it out, and you can switch things up. But anyways, I won an entire run with 4 strategists, and it was awesome. But I also got wrecked in one of the matches against an AI that was running like 5 or 6 duelists. Like, it was absolutely insane. So experiment with these lineups, test different things, see what works, see what doesn't, all right? And don't forget that you can swap out characters. So it does cost you units, you do earn money throughout the game, so you can swap characters. So like if something's not working or even a specific character isn't working, you could swap them out later. So yeah, test things out in the early runs and then like maybe later on you might wanna switch them up, but this game is super fun because it's all about experimenting with different heroes. Now, I will say this, you do get like hero specific abilities, and to my knowledge, like if you say put an ability on like something I did, I put an ability on Iron Fist, and then like halfway through the run, I was like, wait, I don't really like Iron Fist, he's not really doing much, and I swapped him out. Well, I just kind of wasted an ability on him, so like be careful, like know who your core is gonna be before you start adding those abilities, okay? So tip number 2, it seems like the best strategy might be to go all in on a certain upgrade type. So what do I mean? So in between each match, okay, you're earning money and you can upgrade abilities. There's like different cards, okay? So there's like red, green, and then like purple, and then there's like a different purple. And basically the green upgrades the strategist, all right? The red upgrades your duelist, the purple upgrades your vanguard, but then there's like a secondary purple, which is called equilibrium, and it basically like upgrades like everybody, all right? So you might not get as much stats for it, but it's a little bit more well-rounded. Well, something that I saw that was very successful was people just going all in, right? So, you know, there was one run where I got absolutely spanked, and it was because the person who won, they went all in on the duelist archetype. They just kept getting the red cards and they would upgrade them. And with your units, like you can re-roll, so you get 4 cards at first, and then you can re-roll them. I think it costs like 1 unit to re-roll them and get new ones. But as I'll talk in one of the other tips, like you gotta be smart about the economy and everything. But yeah, I don't know for certain, but something that seemed to work out really well for me was upgrading the equilibrium one that I was telling you about, where it kind of, you know, puts buffs towards every single different type of role. That seemed to really work. But I did try some different games where I would like, you know, I would kind of spread it out evenly where each of my roles would get buffs. And those were the games where I think I did the worst. So I do think that you should go all in. And something else that I've noticed is the timer is insanely short. When you first get started with this game, it's gonna seem like just complete madness. You don't get that long to select your cards. So a very good strategy in the beginning when you're learning this is to figure out where you wanna upgrade and just go all in on that. Like you are not going to have time to read these cards. Like one of the, you know, pieces of feedback that I have for the Marvel Rivals devs is to extend the timer just a little bit because it's very, very rushed right now, okay? Tip number 3, take advantage of team-ups. That's right, you heard me. team ups work in this mode, okay? I had an insane run last night with Hulk and Namor, okay? The squids were shooting like all the way across the entire map, and it was bonkers. And as I was mentioning, there are like hero-specific abilities that you can upgrade throughout the game, and Namor has one to drop extra squids. And I ended up going undefeated. That's right, I went undefeated. I went 20-0 with this team up. But something I did notice, because I was experimenting with team ups throughout the games I played, some of them don't happen as often as you think. Like that Hulk Namor one, Namor will drop those gamma squids like immediately at the start of every round. But I was watching somebody who had a Invisible Woman and a Human Torch on their team. They did very well. I think they ended up getting first or second, but I was watching their Human Torch and it didn't look like Human Torch used that team up. But I did see like a Jeff and Storm using their ultimate abilities together. But there are upgrades, like if there is a team up where it involves two ultimates going together, you have to watch out because their ultimates are gonna have to be in sync for that to happen. And the best way to do that is to upgrade those purple cards where like all of your different roles get their ultimate abilities charged a little bit faster. Because if you were just, for example, upgrading into the duelist role for their ultimates to charge faster, but not your strategist, then Storm and Jeff probably wouldn't do their team up too often. So keep that in mind as you play. But overall, team ups work. So think about the team ups, think about what is easiest to activate, because if you're new to auto battlers like me, that was something that was like kind of frustrating. Like you don't really have any control over when they're activating things, they kind of just do it. So keep that in mind when selecting your team ups, okay? So tip number 4, utilize the economy to your benefit. So this is what we're talking about, all right? So every single round, after every single match, you're going to earn units. These units are used to buy cards, all right? So those upgrade cards that I was talking about, they cost 5 units each, but as you progress in the rounds, there are cards with different rarities and they're gonna be more expensive. So by default, they're all 5 units, but then there are ones that are a little bit rarer and those are 10 units. And then sometimes you get lucky and there's other ones that are 15 units. So you gotta be smart about your money. So myself and some fellow creators, we were experimenting with the economy. And something that you could do in this game is earn interest. So for every 10 units you save, you earn interest of 1 extra unit per round, all right? So something that some guys were experimenting with was just like saving their units like the first 3 or 4 rounds of the match to earn that extra interest. And I'm kind of on the fence about that strategy, but it is something to keep in mind. Like, what I'm getting at is that you might not want to just like blow through your units and get abilities and upgrade cards that like you don't really want. When I was talking about switching characters, that costs units as well. So be mindful of this. Like if there are things that you don't want and you're still doing very well in your matches or even like mediocre, you might just want to save your units and wait until the next round until something good pops up. Like these games last about like, I think like, 15 to 20 rounds on average. So if you lose your first 3 or 4 and you're just banking up units, it's not a huge deal. It's very easy to come back. But like I said, like saving them like too much isn't a huge deal. And also it caps out at 5 extra units. So basically if you're saving 50 units, that's the maximum. And like, so basically there's no reason to save like 70, 80, 90, 100 units. Like there's only a maximum amount of interest that you can get. And something else at the very top, in the very middle, all right, I'm still getting used to checking this. It tells you who you are facing next. Every X amount of rounds, I'm not sure how many it is, you face bots. And not like AI, but like bots like the ones that you get in the practice range. You face those and it's basically a free round. So if you pay attention to the very top, it'll show you when you're about to face those bots, this is a great time to save your units because like you're automatically gonna win, so you don't really need to upgrade anything, okay? Also, there are win and loss streak bonuses. I believe it triggers after 3 or 4 wins or losses. And this is something a buddy was telling me that people do in games like Teamfight Tactics because they have those win-loss streak bonuses. Like if they lose 2, maybe they'll lose a 3rd one just so they get that the money bonus. I'm not well versed enough to know if that's actually a good strategy, but I will say if you're on a win streak, you can snowball, or if one of your opponents on a win streak, they can kind of spiral and start making a lot of money. All right, so tip number 5, check out your competition when you have downtime. Again, the timers on this thing are extremely short, but once you start getting in the groove of this game and you're like upgrading your stuff a little bit faster, like I am a notorious skimmer. My fiance yells at me about it all the time, but I think my skimming of all these upgrades has really helped me like kind of get in the flow because the timer's so short. But anyways, when you have downtime, you can actually select your opponents and then you could check out and see what they're running. What heroes are they running? How are they positioning their heroes? Where are they focusing their upgrade cards, right? Are they going all in on their duelists? Are they going all in on their vanguards? Are they doing the more well-rounded equilibrium ones? But yeah, check them out so that way you can strategize. Like something I was doing was, like, if I was doing like, you know, half decent, but I was losing to one specific person, I would check that out and I would see like, okay, where are they leveling up their abilities? How can I counter that later on? So even though I wasn't gonna face them for a few more rounds, I was kind of thinking ahead and saying, okay, well, this upgrade card that like nerfs their damage output and they're leveling all up into damage output, maybe this will help me survive a little bit longer, or go into like my tankiness or something like that. So check that out, but just keep in mind, the timer is insanely short. So you're gonna have to really like think about when you wanna do this. And I just can't stress this enough, you guys. There were so many times when I ran out of time and I wasn't able to like buy things because I was reading something, or there was countless times when I would do like a reroll and I wasn't looking at the timer. So I would reroll, waste a unit on that, and then I would just run out of time. So please keep an eye on the timer, all right? So tip number 6, final tip. Something that I found very beneficial is to not only buff my own team, but also nerf your opponent. So like I just mentioned in the last tip, when you're kind of strategizing around what the opponents are doing, like keep this in mind. Like I think this is very, very powerful. There are upgrade cards that can nerf the enemy's healing. It can nerf their max health. It can nerf their damage output. And this kind of messes them up. And I think this was beneficial for me. I don't think a lot of people were really doing it that much, but I love messing with the other team. I'm a Marvel Snap player and I love like cards that like disrupt the opponent. But yeah, like when you're constantly nerfing the enemy's damage output, like you're nerfing their damage output by like starting at like 2%, then you're going up to like 6%. And then there are different roles that have these types of nerfs as well. You can really start stacking that so the enemy team is barely doing any damage. And something I did notice, if you are making it into the later rounds, so everybody starts out with 50 health, by the way, and then that slowly chips down as you lose. But if you make it to the later rounds with other people, like you are really, 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 really going to want to start nerfing the opponent's healing output. Because much like in a regular Marvel Rivals match, like the strategists, ultimate abilities and their healing can be very powerful. So you're definitely gonna wanna nerf this. But again, keep an eye on what the other teams are doing so you can kind of strategize into that and upgrade in certain places. There was one point when just a team was going all in on duelists and I had to start nerfing their damage output because they were just going insane. All right, but anyways, those are the 6 tips. I could make this video an hour long, and I'm just getting started with this. This game is so fun. There's so much strategy involved. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, let me know down in the comments below. If there are any other videos that you want me to make. I didn't realize that this thing was gonna be running for weeks, like until the 23rd. That is really, really cool. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this video because I definitely love this mode. I wanna make some more content on it. So let me know your thoughts, your comments, your questions, all down below. All right, but anyways, that's all I got for this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell because I got a ton of Marvel Rivals content coming for you. All right, anyways, have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.